All right, first and foremost, notice how the screen looks, the text. I have a filter on this for some reason, and it's just the green attack raptor. That's what's going on. So what we know now, if you can read it, it says Fortnite addiction lawsuit likens game's effects to cocaine. To cocaine? So there's a lawsuit out there that's claiming that Fortnite is as addictive as cocaine. Now, who does that remind you of? What does that remind you of? Jack Thompson. Back in the day, violent video games are like cocaine. Same with like Anita Sarkeesian. Violent video games make you sexist, right? Again, we see all this kind of crap, but there is something to be said about the addictive nature of gaming, especially on young kids who play it almost nonstop. And I think there's something to be said about that. Look, I'm not denouncing gaming, man. I've already put like I think 20 hours into Ghost Recon Breakpoint at this point, and I'm really liking it. Haven't even seen a microtransaction. Don't even care. Game's a lot of fun. But that's a time investment. And I look forward to playing because of, well, the effects it gives me. I like it. So I can understand why someone might think that it's addictive like cocaine. I like to argue that it has a lot more to do with, I don't know, kind of crappy parenting. People who let their kids play for too long, like, oh, you're gonna go play the Fortnite. You're gonna play the Fortnite, kiddo. Okay, you go play the Fortnite. Mommy's gonna be over here trying to find you a new father on Tinder. Oh yes, swipe right. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of crap. I think people who nothing is letting your kids play. Let them play, but geez. Anyway, so let's see here. Okay, very centered on the duty to inform. So this class action lawsuit over Fortnite addiction is going to be filed in Canada. Alleging that the game has addictive properties comparable to cocaine and that Epic's Games failed to properly warn parents about its addictive properties. It's a video game, not drugs, not coffee, not even high quality uncut maple syrup, which is what we know you Canucks are known for, right? That gets you a sugar high like a mofo. But no, really, it's like cocaine. Seriously? Anyway. So they say here, we dug into it and we realized that there's a strong case for it, said Calyx legal attorney Alessandra Esposito Chartrand, as reported by the CBC. The lawsuit is being filed on behalf of the parents of a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old minor. Their complaint alleges that the game's success is due in part to hiring psychologists to make it as addictive as an experience as possible. Is that even true? Like, I haven't played Fortnite in like a year. I love Battle Royale games, don't get me wrong, but like Fortnite ain't my jam. So I don't want to know, but still, is this true? Did they hire psychologists to go in there and like figure out what pushes buttons? Is that why it's so brightly colored? I mean, well, that is obviously why it's so brightly colored, but still. All right, they say here that Epic Games, when they created Fortnite for years and years, hired psychologists that really dug into the human brain, and they really made the effort to make it as addictive as possible. They all knowingly put it on the market, a very addictive game, which was also geared towards youth. And that's true. I mean, look at Ninja. Ninja looks like an IRL Fortnite character. You know, Tyler Blevins makes millions of dollars a year because he is able to look like a character in the game, and he's good at it. And it's very bright. It's very colorful. There's lots of like funny things happening. There's all these events. They tie it in with like John Wick and Avengers Infinity War, and they've got seasons, and they got that weird Nuki thingy that happened. And a lot's gone on with Fortnite that does, you know, I mean, it does gear to that audience. Like I as an old elderly gamer that's quickly, rapidly approaching 40, I prefer my Battle Royale games to be chock full of realism and violence, not RPG color-coded weaponry. I just want a gun to work. I don't really care about the stats. You know what I mean? Even though I'm playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint, and it's the same concept. You know, every 5 minutes, got a new gun. Okay, so the attorneys who are filing the complaint are seeking to make it a class action lawsuit. While the game's terms of service disallow this kind of legal action, Canadian law supersedes ELUAs in this matter, which I would argue is probably pretty accurate. I mean, an ELUA would pretty much only apply to like the United States, I would argue. I'm not a lawyer. I'm an idiot on the internet, but still. But you gotta love it. While the game's terms of service disallow a class action lawsuit, like what kind of world do we live in where someone's able to write in like class action, no, into a terms of service, and like you agree to that, but then again, it's a free game. Maybe that's their argument. But what if they paid for it? What if they bought the $30? Oh no, their argument could be they're just buying the expansions, but the base game is still free. Let's see. So the Fortnite lawsuit is based in part on the 2016 case where a Quebec court found that tobacco companies did not properly warn their customers of their products' addictive properties. Their legal claim is being bolstered by the existence of centers in Canada and around the world that claim to cure kids of their Fortnite addiction. All the while, parents are purchasing Fortnite tutors for their children. Fortnite tutors for their kids. You know, little Bobby goes to mommy and like, mommy, I want to be like Ninja. I want to be a Fortnite streamer. I want to do well. And mom is like, well, you know, Billy, I could buy you a tutor. That's a terrible voice to make, but it's so true. They do that. They do. Anyway, it's also bolstered here by the World Health Organization, addiction on gaming disorder. Oh, God. Yeah, they tried doing that last year. Remember that? Gaming is now considered a disorder. Addictive gaming. Are you addicted to gaming? That means you might be sick. I've read parts of the internet where there's some gaming forums, and there's some bad people out there. So yeah, argue some are kind of sick, but in the meantime, come on, really? All right. So in our case, two parents came forward and told if we knew it was so addictive, it would ruin our child's life, we would have never let them start playing Fortnite or monitored it a lot more. Right there debunks their entire case, in my opinion. In my non-lawyer, super awesome, amazing internet legal theory opinion sort of thingy. It kind of debunks it, doesn't it? It's like, well, if we would have known it would have been addictive, we wouldn't have let him play it. ... Oh, we would have monitored it. Oh, perhaps if you monitored your child playing the game instead of just sitting them down in front of the TV like Mr. fucking Nanny, he has a controller and some Fortnite, kid. You're not going to encounter anyone out there that's bad for you. Never mind, there was a kid I just talked about a couple weeks ago that like he's like 12. He stole his dad's car and drove it 200 miles to meet a dude he'd met in Fortnite. I think, or Snapchat, but I think Fortnite was a connection. I'm just saying, it's like kids do the stupidest things. And if parents were better at monitoring them, then again, I have two kids and it's like, that kid's tough. Just saying. But it's, in a legal, I would never say that in like a legal thing. If I would have just monitored them more, they wouldn't get addicted. Yeah, well, you know what? Hey, my parents didn't monitor me. I started smoking cigarettes at 15 and I quit at 24. 13 years just hit. No smoke. God, I miss it. Anyway, a judge will decide whether or not the case will go forward in the coming days. And of course, what do you think about this? I think it's dumb. I think it is exceptionally stupid, really, to have a situation like this where you have got parents that are so inept at actually watching over their kids that they gave them a free-to-play video game, that they set them down in front of the TV or the computer or their Switch or their PlayStation or their Xbox. Don't get me wrong. It's accessible anywhere. You want it on your smartphone. It's on your smartphone. You can get it. I have it on the Switch, and I've played it on the Switch, and I felt dirty because it just feels so weird to play on the Switch. But that being said, it's one of those situations where when you look at it as a whole, there's got to be some parental accountability here. Like my daughter, almost 2 years old, loves Peppa Pig. All right. Loves Peppa Pig. One of her first words is Peppa. She loves Peppa Pig. I make sure to turn it off after a little bit of time. I don't want her getting addicted to watching Peppa Pig, because now if we're thumbing through YouTube on our TV and a Peppa Pig thumbnail pops up, she perks up. She's like, Peppa. And then I'm all like, scroll past it. I'm like, no. She looks at me like, I'm going to cut you, old man. I gotta wing back her Peppa Pig addiction. Right. But then again, I'm aware of it. No, it's just an addiction. But it's like, you can't sit there and say that it's somebody else's fault because you can't raise your kids good. I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong. But however, I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. The comments on this, I think are gonna be pretty wild, pretty funny, in my opinion. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys got to say about this. I will talk to you all later. Have yourself a great day. Be sure to like the goddamn video because YouTube is suppressing everything. For a company that's trying to expand in other parts of the world, they do a terrible job. All right, guys, have a good one and peace out.